All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have a wonderful webinar with Dr. Rui with Rodale Institute. I'm very excited to share additional research findings from Rodale with you guys today via this webinar. But before we go on, a little housekeeping. So what we'll do is, and for those of you who don't know me, my name is Olga Redding, and I am the Education and Outreach Coordinator of Iowa Organic Association. What we'll do, you guys, is I'll go ahead and just share with you a few slides about Iowa and our mission and some resources for organic farmers. What I will ask of you guys, please, is maybe mute yourself. And I'll try to mute everybody too. And then you can keep your video on if you'd like, but just muting is important. And while Dr. Rui is presenting, if you have any questions, feel free to enter them into the chat box. And when our Q&A session begins at the end of the presentation, I'll ask those questions of Dr. Rui. So we'll kind of do that. And then during that Q&A session, if you wish to do so, you are welcome to unmute and put yourself on video and ask those questions directly, whatever works best for you guys. But let's go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right. Okay. All right. So Iowa Organic Association, we are a nonprofit organization that was established in 2006, and we are committed to organic education, advocacy, and community cooperation. Our mission is to advance organic agriculture and food systems in the state of Iowa, and our members represent a diverse community of Iowa's organic farmers, gardeners, food and farm businesses, and anyone and everyone that wants to champion for the organic movement. And you guys are a part of this community. So thank you to each and every one of you for being here today and for supporting our work. It really means the world. As far as our priorities, we have four overarching priorities, and I'll touch briefly on all of them. Education, we provide various programs and try to increase expertise as far as the organic opportunities are concerned here in the state. We have done a few different programs, one called Growing Organic Expertise last year that was geared towards technical service providers such as folks from NRCS and FSA. And then we've also expanded that program through a different grant through REAP-SEP. And this program is called Growing Organic Expertise in colleges across Iowa. So last semester, I went to 10 different colleges and invited 10 different organic farmers to share their stories with these students. And that was an amazing experience. And we are continuing on with this grant and these lectures and on-farm field days this semester as well. We also created the first and only Midwest Organic Pork Conference that was launched in 2019. In 2020, we had to cancel due to COVID, but since then, we have been collaborating with the Moses Conference to bring some of those very important organic pork topics to their conference. So we've been collaborating with them. And of course, webinars that you're part of, on-farm field days are a huge part of our education priority as well. As far as outreach, we connect with target audiences and the public to promote research events, resources that are beneficial to our organic community. I mentioned Moses as one of the conferences we partner with, and of course, we're part of the Practical Farmers of Iowa conference and others, and always part of different trade shows and community events. And then as far as resources, of course, our website is an amazing resource. We also have a e-news that we deliver on bi-monthly basis, and our calendar, in case you guys haven't seen it, always has a plethora of events of ours and other organizations that are happening that you definitely should check out. Of course, we're on social media. We have our own listserv. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already done so. As far as advocacy, we advance state-level leadership policies dedicated to funding and supporting Iowa's growing organic industry. And some of the things that we have done on a policy level, we've met with Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary Naig in 2021, Iowa Agriculture, and we are actually following up with him again in this year. So that's been a great conversation with him, and looking forward to seeing what else we can do to expand that conversation moving forward. Community, you guys are part of this community, and we encourage collaboration between all of our stakeholders, and we are happy to share any resources to grow our community of organic farmers. As far as additional resources, if you're not familiar with our Organic Resource Directory, is a document that is available in a PDF form under our resources page, but I can also mail you a paper copy if you wish to have a paper copy instead. But it has over 900 businesses, nonprofits, service providers, anyone and everyone that can basically help an organic farmer or a farmer looking to transition to organic. We believe it serves as a valuable tool for Iowa's organic community to achieve growth and continued success. And then, of course, some other programs that are available to organic farmers are the Organic Certification Cost Share Program through Farm Service Agency. You can access up to $500 annually to cover some of your inspection costs and things of that nature. In addition, the FSA offers a non-insured crop disaster assistance program. We have a webinar on that on our YouTube channel that you can kind of check out for additional information. As well, there is the Environmental Quality Incentive Program through NRCS and CAP 138 through NRCS, which is a grant to help organic farmers with their conservation efforts on their farm. And links to all of these various programs will be available on this recording on our YouTube channel under the description box. So feel free to check that out later on. And then, of course, as a nonprofit organization, we rely heavily on your support. So if you're not already a member, please consider becoming one. In addition, if you have a business and would like to be a sponsor, Roz and I are happy to help you navigate those questions and how to become a sponsor. Happy to do so. This is our contact information, and thank you again. This is all I have for right now, and I'll let Dr. Rui take over. Dr. Rui.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Well, all right. Thanks, Olga, for the great introduction and for the invitation to present our research in this winter webinar series. And it's my great pleasure to be here. And also, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. And my name is Yichao Rui, as Olga just briefly mentioned. I'm one of the scientists at Rodale Institute, where I serve as the research director of our farming systems trial, which is a long-term trial comparing organic and conventional grain production systems side by side. So today I'll give you an overview of the trial and share with you some of the latest research findings from the last few decades. So first of all, Rodale Institute. I'm sure that many of you or most of you in this room would know Rodale Institute very well, or at least I've heard about Rodale Institute. So founded in 1947, Rodale Institute has been widely recognized as the birthplace of organic agriculture in the United States. Our headquarters is located in Kutztown, Pennsylvania, about 2 hours from New York City and 1 hour from Philadelphia. But we also have several regional resource centers across the country, including one in Iowa, near the Cedar Rapids and Marion area. So if you happen to be in that area, please feel free to reach out or visit. So J.I. Rodale, our founder, was the person who popularized the term organic in the United States in the 1950s and 60s. 1950s and 60s. That was a time when the conventional chemical agriculture became dominant and mainstream in the United States. But actually, it was the Rodale magazines and publications, including the Organic Gardening and Farming magazine, where a lot of people started to realize that healthy soil equals healthy foods and healthy people, and start to think about how to farm differently. And in 1980, there was a USDA report and recommendations on organic farming. So that was a time when the big conventional chemical agriculture was so dominant, and a lot of questions about organic farming on whether it's applicable, whether it's doable, and whether you can compete with the conventional chemical agriculture with organic farming methods. So there are a lot of discussion and question on, first of all, does it work? Does organic work? And also how to make it work, right? And to answer these questions, the farming systems trial was designed and established by organic pioneers to answer these questions. The pioneers include Robert Rodale, the son of Jerry Rodale, also the then president of Rodale Institute, and Dr. Richard Howard, who was established agriculture scientist of that time. So in 1981, the farming systems trial was established on the 12-acre land in Kutztown, Pennsylvania, from the land that was conventionally farmed for decades. So for 40 years, we have been working on this 12-acre land, collecting data on soil health and agronomy and environmental quality and economics for 40 years. And today it's still up and running. It's up and running, and it's widely recognized as the longest running side-by-side comparison of organic and conventional farming systems in North America. So now I'm going to give you a very brief introduction of the farming systems in the farming systems trial. So there are three major farming systems, including one conventional system and two organic systems. So the conventional system is representative of the large acres areas of the corn soybean system that's heavily reliant on synthetic chemical inputs. So it has a 3-year corn soybeans rotation, and there's no cover crop in it until recently. And the inputs are mainly synthetic herbicides, pesticides, and synthetic inorganic fertilizers. The two organic systems are one organic legume system, where we have a 4-year corn, oats, soybean, and wheat rotation. 4-year, so it's kind of the mid-length rotation, organic grain system. And the fertility source of the organic legume system mainly comes from the leguminous cover crops. Apart from that, we don't have any additional external organic inputs such as manure or compost to replenish the soil fertility. So it's a self-sufficient zero input system. We also have an organic manure system in which we have an 8-year rotation. So on top of that 4-year organic grain rotation, we also have a 3 years hay phase. So that means it has a perennial or semi-perennial hay phase in this long rotation, 8 or 9 years rotation. So the fertility comes from both from the leguminous cover crops and composted manure that's applied every couple of years. So over the year, over 40 years, the management treatment systems have changed slightly in these different systems, but overall, the overarching philosophies of these different systems remain the same. So the areas of the research included yield, crop productivity, soil health, environmental quality, and economics. So I have to mention that all these systems, all three systems were managed with full tillage until 2008. So before 2008, all these three systems were managed with tillage. In the organic systems, mobile plow was used to prepare the seed bed and to terminate the cover crops or to incorporate organic amendments, manure, or the cover crop residues. And in a conventional system, chisel plow was used every year before 2008. So overall, we found that since it was established in 1981, the yields, crop yields of the organic system could match or outperform conventional systems in the first 30 years of time. And the organic system saw increased soil organic matter content. And that probably explains why the organic system could match or outperform conventional system in yield. As you can see in the chart on the right-hand side, that's the organic matter content change from 1981 to 2008. So the organic matter content in the conventional system, which was indicated by the blue line, largely stayed the same, while the organic matter content in the two organic systems increased, especially in the first 15 to 20 years of time. And the crop yields, as I mentioned, in the organic system could match or outperform outperform conventional system in most of the years in long-term average, especially in a year of drought. For example, here, as you can see that the average of 5 dry years in the 1980s and 1990s, you can see that the corn yield was about 30% more in the organic systems average of the organic manure and organic legume systems than the conventional system. And that's one thing. Organic systems had more resilient crop yield than the conventional system under the climate extremes. The other thing we have found that based on our research collaboration with Cornell University, we found that the corn and soybean yields were more resilient on wheat pressure, which means that in the conventional system, if there's something happen in that year, there's a big wheat pressure, then the conventional corn and soybean would have a very low corn and soybean yield. But the organic system still had a good amount of corn and soybean yield. So that was what we found in the first 20 or 30 years. And also the nitrate content in the soil. So we found that in the topsoil, for example, here we have the soil nitrate content at 3 different depths in the soil profile. On top, you can see the soil nitrate content in the 3 systems at topsoil, that's 15 centimeter deep. You can see that the soil nitrate content was higher in the conventional system, which is again in blue, than the 2 organic systems. However, the difference was small at 0 to 15 centimeter depth. But when you go down to 30 centimeter depths or 50 centimeter depths, you can see that conventional soils had much higher soil nitrate content. So that indicated that the conventional system may pose a very big groundwater contamination risk. I'm sure that people from our friends in Iowa would know that issue very well, because I heard from some friends from Iowa that groundwater nitrate content is a big problem there, and nitrate removal is very expensive. So that was the result in the first 30 years. But in order to stay relevant and dynamic with the agricultural communities, we made some management shift that represent the recent development of agriculture. So agriculture in general is evolving all the time. Even conventional farmers are not doing things now as they are doing 40 years ago. So one of the most significant development in agriculture community is the move towards no-till, because erosion and runoff, these are big issues. And especially in the Midwest, there's also a topsoil loss issue. So in recent decades, there's a big move towards no-till. So we also made that change in the farming systems trial. So, but we realized that to reduce tillage or adopt no-till in conventional and organic systems, they can be different. In the conventional system, to adopt no-till can be easier. For example, you can use GMO genetically modified variety seeds, and in combination with herbicide bone down, you can achieve completely no-till. But in organic system, it's much more difficult because there's always the pressure issue.
I don't have a coat.
Huh?
You want me to go with you? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying you can wait here if you don't want to go.
So in the organic system, I'll just keep going. In organic systems, we have developed the so-called cover crop-based reduced till system, or the rotational no-till system, in which we plant annual cover crops in the fall, and in these cover crops can overwinter. And in the next spring, we terminate the cover crop mechanically using tools such as the roller crimper shown in the picture in the middle. And then the cover crop residues can become a mulch that can suppress weeds, ideally. So we, in 2008, we divided all these three systems of the farming system trial into both full till, which remained the same as it was done in the past years, and reduced tillage. So in the conventional systems, the reduced tillage, as I mentioned, was achieved by using GMO seeds and herbicides burned down. And in organic systems, reduced tillage was achieved by adopting the cover crop-based organic no-till system. But I have to mention that reduced tillage is achieved in different ways in conventional and organic systems. And it also had different outcomes. As we can see here is a graph of the soil tillage intensity rating, which is calculated based on the methods by USDA NRCS. So we can see that on the left-hand side, the bars are the conventional system, the soil tillage intensity rating of the conventional system. We can see that in the conventional system, reduced tillage or RT treatment almost completely eliminate tillage. But on the right-hand side, the two organic system, you can see that the reduced tillage treatment reduced tillage by about 35%, because we still use tillage to establish cover crops and also to establish small grains. So no-till or rotational no-till was only used, roller crimper was only used for corn and soybean, to establish corn and soybean. So that's, although not completely no-till, but represents the recent development of organic no-till among organic farmers. So now I'm gonna turn to the focus of my presentation today. So that's the recent data, most recent data since 2008, when we made that management shift in all three systems, reduced tillage was implemented. So I'm gonna cover the 12 years data from 2008 to 2020. First of all, crop yields. So here we have the corn yield from 2008 and 2020. So that's the long-term average of the 12 years. As you can see that there was no difference between the conventional, the blue bars, and the organic manure, which are the brown or orange bars on the right-hand side. No difference between the conventional and the manure, organic manure system in corn yield. And the organic legume system produced the lowest yield compared to the other two systems. But we can see that the organic system could match the yield of the conventional system. And you can see that reduced tillage, the RT treatment, resulted in a slightly smaller yield, corn yield, about 5 to 8% decline in corn yield in all these three systems. Soybean is an exception. We can see that neither organic legume nor organic manure system could match the soybean yield compared to the conventional system. That may indicate that a challenge with organic soybean production. The weed pressure can be a big problem for organic soybean, even with the tillage cultivation and the cover crop-based no-till system. So for oats and wheat, because the organic, because the conventional system mostly had corn and soybean in its rotation. In only very limited years, it had corn and wheat and oats in its rotation. We can see that the big picture is that the long-term average yields, organic manure system can match or outperform conventional system, except soybean. And the organic legume system usually cannot perform equally well as the conventional or organic manure system. So that shows that organic systems can be managed differently, but also can have very different outcomes. In general, reduced tillage treatment slightly lowered crop yields based on the 12 years results. And here are some graphs of the relative yields. Relative yields means the ratio of the actual absolute yields versus the county average. We can see that's pretty similar with what we have shown before with the actual yields. And again, an extreme dry year happened in 2018 when we only had 9 inches of rain from June 1st to August 31st. And we can see that the both organic systems performed better than the conventional system in that extremely dry year. And for the RT treatment, the reduced tillage treatment, the message is still the same. Reduced tillage resulting in a slight decline in yield compared to the full tillage system. And we also conducted a 12-year economic analysis with the help from Craig Chase, economist from Iowa State University. So we broke down based on the long-term farming operation records and using the prices in the National Archive, we calculate the total cost and the net returns and the net return and revenues of these different systems. So the land cost, first, you can see that there's not much difference between these different systems. Field operations, you can see that the organic system had higher costs in the field operation than the conventional system. With the reduced tillage treatment, the field costs or field operations costs are lower than the tilled system. And labor, similarly, organic system had higher cost of labor compared to the conventional system. Also, the organic legume system, which has a 4-year organic grain rotation, had higher cost of labor than the organic manure system because the organic manure system had 3 years of hay in its rotation. So with that, we can see the total cost was higher in the conventional system, largely because of the fertility, which is a synthetic chemical input, and pest management, herbicide, pesticide. Conventional system had higher total cost than the organic legume and the organic manure system. And reduced tillage treatment lowered the total cost in all these three systems, especially in the conventional and the organic legume system. So that's the result of the costs. And when we look at the gross revenues, we can see that on the left-hand side, these are the result, the gross revenue with organic premiums. You can see that both organic systems, including the organic legume and the organic manure system, outperformed the conventional system in the gross revenues with organic premiums. So that means the organic systems, two organic systems, are more profitable than the conventional system with organic price premiums. But without organic price premiums, we can see that the organic legume system, the bars in the middle, cannot compete that with the conventional system. And then using the gross revenues and the total cost, we calculate the net return. So that indicates the profitability of the all three systems. We can see that with organic price premiums, both organic systems are making money, and making more money than the two conventional systems. And however, without organic premiums, the organic legume systems are not making money because the yields are lower than the conventional system and organic manure system. And even without the organic price premium, the organic manure system continue to be the most profitable system. So that's the big picture here. Organic manure system is the most profitable with or without organic price premiums. And the organic legume system with zero external input can be profitable with premiums because it also had a lower input, lower cost. Reduced tillage did not affect profitability in all these systems. And we also have some data on crop nutrient content of the 12 years data. We can see that the corn protein was higher in the organic legume and organic manure system than the conventional system. However, I have to say that to make some conclusion on nutrient quality or nutrient density, comparing organic and conventional systems can be complicated because starting from 2008, we are using genetically modified seeds in the conventional systems. And we are using organic seeds, which is obviously not genetically modified in the organic systems. So sometimes it can be the case of comparing apples to oranges, right? So to come up with a simple solution, simple conclusion that organic systems are producing more nutrient dense food based on the system's result of the farming system, grain production system can be difficult. But we have some data from the most recent year, that's 2020. We can just have a glimpse of what the result can be, because in a conventional system, we have always used the seeds that's readily available on the market. And in organic system, we are also using the seeds that's readily available to the farmers, organic farmer will use. So we can at least have an idea of what the data can be when we follow the ways that farmers are doing things in both conventional and organic communities. So we can see that. So that's the data from 2020 when we had corn in all these systems. So we can see that corn yield was similar between the organic manure and the conventional system, and it was a little bit lower than organic legume system. So that's consistent with the long-term average result. However, when you look at the crude protein or the total folate or vitamin B6, you can see that the organic system always had higher percentage of these nutrients than the conventional system. And also the organic manure system would have higher content of these nutrients than the organic manure system. So that at least offers some message how the data can be when we use the seeds that are readily available to the farmers. Okay, now let's take a look at the long-term trend of soil organic matter or soil carbon, because I know many organic farmers are very interested in this data. I have just mentioned that until 2008, so from the beginning of the trial until 2008, we saw a general increase of soil organic matter in the organic system, but largely unchanged soil organic matter in the conventional system. So that was the case in the first 20 years or 25 years. However, in the recent years, we found some interesting change in the three systems. We found that soil organic matter data largely converged in all these systems. So there was a large decline in the soil organic matter in the organic legume system. And also there was a plateau of organic matter in the organic manure system. And the organic matter content increased in the conventional system. So this is interesting. Sometimes it's difficult to explain, but we have to deal with the data that we have been observing, right? So I think for soil carbon or soil organic matter monitoring and verification, it's a very challenging an issue, because carbon monitoring and verification is inherently difficult because soil is highly variable, spatially variable, and the collection methods, and there can be large variations across different fields and also over time. I think what we are seeing here in organic systems, the soil carbon or soil organic matter plateauing in the organic manure system may indicate that the frequency of manure addition decreased after 2008. I did not mention that before 2008, in the organic manure system, manure was added every 2 or 3 years. Every 2 or 3 years, manure would be added in the organic manure system before 2008 to the corn phase. So that was before corn. But after 2008, we made some changes to the timing of manure application because we're adopting the organic no-till or the cover crop based organic rotational no-till systems. We had the thick cover crop residues in the corn phase to be rolled down. So we were actually adding manure to the oats phase, not the corn phase. So that means that the frequency of manure addition decreased from every 2 or 3 years to maybe every 6, 7 years. So the frequency of manure addition decreased after 2008. That may resulted in the plateauing or a slight decline of soil organic matter in the organic manure system, because it's a system that we continuously produce food every year. So that's intensive crop production, but we are not putting in enough as much as organic input or amendment as we used to be doing that before 2008. So that may be the reason that we saw that decline or plateau of soil organic matter in the manure system. Well, in the organic legume system, it can be another issue because remember that this is a zero input system from the very beginning. From 1981, the system had zero external input. However, we still produce food every year. It's an intensive organic grain system. So the intensive annual production may be depleting soil organic matter. So that may be what's happening if you keep producing organic grain every year without putting in adequate organic sources of soil fertility to replenish the organic matter content. However, in the conventional system, the slight increase of the soil organic matter is hard to explain. Maybe that's because of the variation or error associated with soil collection, or maybe it's because of the system have reached a new equilibrium, a new balance between input and output, or because of climate or environmental factor. So that still needs answer. And again, this is just 0 to 20 centimeter data. And we in the fall of 2021, we just completed a deep core soil sampling. So we collected soils of different depths from 0 to 10 to 1 meter deep to look at whether in the deeper soil, organic system could have accumulated more organic matter or carbon content. So I'm sure that in the near future, we will have some data to report back to you. So that was just the total organic matter content or total carbon content. There are also some other indicators of soil organic matter or soil health that worth looking. So here are some of them. For example, the active carbon content the soil protein, they indicate the labile form of soil organic matter, which may be more important to nutrient availability and nutrient cycling. So we can see that the organic manure system continue to have higher these labile soil organic matter carbon nitrogen pools than the conventional and the organic legume system. And the microbial activity indicated by the potential respiration of measured in the lab incubation also showed the similar pattern. However, here we can see that reduced tillage treatment, the RT treatment, increased soil respiration in both the conventional system and the organic manure system. Maybe that's indicating that when you do not till the soil, you have more residues from the crop residues or the cover crop residues that's being left on top of the soil. So the microbes have more organic source to utilize. Again, these were the data from the 0 to 20 soil. We also conducted analysis on the microbial biomass of 3 different depths. So here's the data from the 0 to 10, the most top soil. We can see that organic manure system still had the highest microbial biomass carbon, which is the carbon contained in microbial biomass. And there's no difference between the conventional and the legume system, organic legume system. However, when you go down to 10 to 20 centimeter deep and 20 to 30 centimeter deep, you can see that there's a big difference between the conventional and the organic system. So the differences in soil microbial biomass between organic and conventional systems are relatively small at topsoil, but much larger in the deeper soil depths. That shows that the organic system have more things going on in the deeper soil. That may be indicating the structural change of soil health in the conventional and organic systems. So we look at the compaction, which is indicating the soil physical health, physical aspect of soil health or soil structure. That indicates how deep the roots can go to. So we measure the soil compaction by using a penetrometer. It's a probe that we push into the soil and to the depths of 300 psi. So that's the depths the penetrometer can go into the soil at a given pressure that mimics the resistance for roots to penetrate into the soil. We can see that at 300 psi, in the organic system, the penetrometer can go much deeper than the conventional system, right? So that's for the tilled system, tilled conventional and the tilled organic system. However, when we do no-till, let's see what will happen. We can see that in the organic system, doing no-till does not change compaction layer too much, but in the conventional system, adopting no-till resulted in even shallower compaction layer. So that means more compaction in the conventional system under no-till. So reduced tillage caused more compaction in the conventional system, but not in organic systems. So that may, indicate the limitation, one of the limitations of the conventional no-till, chemical-based conventional no-till. When you completely do not till the soil, then very likely it will happen to you that the soil will be compacted. Then you need to find something to try to reduce that soil compaction. And also based on all these soil health data, we came up with the Cornell Comprehensive Assessment Soil Health, the CASH overall soil health score. We can see that overall, the soil health score was the highest in the organic manure system than the conventional and organic legume system. So that's pretty much covering all of the results that I want to introduce today. So before we wrap up, I think it would be beneficial for us to remind ourselves what our goals are, what we wanted to achieve by conducting research in this trial, right? So does organic work? the question, does organic work? Does it work? I think it works. It works. With organic price premiums, both organic systems can make money, right? But the two organic systems are different. They are managed under different philosophies. The organic manure system with adequate input and the 3 years perennial hay phase is definitely showing more benefits, is having more benefit in soil health and profitability than the organic legume system, and of course the conventional system. So how to make it work? So we need to have more longer rotation, organic manure, organic system with adequate amount of animal input into the system. And the best would be having livestock in the system. That would be even better. So, and to reflect of some of the things we have found in the both conventional and organic system, we can look at some of the limitations of these systems. Because when we make mistakes and we learn new knowledge, we can make things better. So in the conventional system, we are seeing that apart from the soil compaction, one of the other things we're seeing is that we really have these herbicide-resistant weed issue that's happening here. So we can see that on the left-hand side, it was me holding a big weed that clogged our plot combine. That was, I think it was 2 years ago, soybean harvest. So that's very typical here in the Northeast, because in the Northeast, our soils formed or evolved together with the woods, the trees. So when you do completely chemical-based no-till, these trees would like to, come back and take their land back. So sometime when I talk to the conventional farmer friends, or when some farmer friends would come to visit, when they see that, they will laugh and say they call them the no-till trees. The no-till trees. That's very common in Northeast. So herbicide-resistant weeds issue. So that's worth attention. And in the organic system, I think the future direction should be, we need to try to refine and improve organic system by developing more technologies to offer more chemical-free weed control option. For example, the high residue cultivator. So that's when you have the high residues from the cover crops that are supposed to cover the ground, prevent weeds from germinating. However, sometimes there still be weeds germinating under these high cover crop residue. So that's when you can use the high residue cultivator to get rid of the weeds, but also have minimum soil disturbance. And also tools like the weed zapper can also be used in the system. We have these tools emerging, and we still need to find out how to best use them. And also in the cover crop based organic no-till system, if we have the roller crimper, when we have the weeds from in the row, so that's where the cover crop residue cannot control. The cover crop residues can only control the weeds between the rows, between the soybean rows. So when there are in-row weeds occur, we need tools such as the weed puller to pull these weeds, the giant big rack weeds, out of the soybean fields. That can also be developed. So these tools, individually or in combination, needs to be developed to be adopted and incorporated in the organic systems. So some take-home messages. After 40 years, the farming system trial continues to demonstrate that organic agriculture can bring significant agronomic, environmental, and economic benefits to our society. And organic systems should be well managed to achieve the best outcomes in soil health, productivity, and profitability. Because as we have shown that two organic systems in our farming system trial, the organic legume system and organic manure system, they have resulted in very different results in soil health and productivity and profitability. And also, additional chemical-free weed control methods should be developed to refine organic systems and achieve continuous organic no-till in the future. So we need to keep working on that towards that goal. So before I wrap up, I would like to thank my team, Dr. Kirsten Pearson, who is the postdoc working with me, compared a lot of data from the last 12 years. And Annie Benson is the primary research technician working with me, and Dr. Emmanuel Amandi, the previous research director of farming system trial, now a faculty member in Tennessee State University. Also, our other staff at Rodale Institute. Also would like to thank the funding from USDA Northeast SARE, William Penn Foundation, Towards Sustainability Foundation, and Blooming Prairie Foundation. Thank you all. So with that, I can close and open up for questions.
Yes, wonderful. There's quite a few questions that have come in, so we'll go ahead and get started. Raphael asked, do you use any regenerative practices in the organic systems, for example, compost tea?
Yes, so we have two organic systems, as I mentioned. In the organic legume system, we do not use any compost or manure, so that it's a zero input, low input organic system, organic grain system. And in the organic manure system, we use manure that has been composted. So it's composted manure in the organic manure system. However, as I just mentioned, that we're not using that manure every year. In the first few decades, until 2008, we were applying manure, composted manure, every 2 or 3 years. And since 2008, we've been applying manure every 6 or 7 years. So we have in this area, in Pennsylvania, we have some organic farmer friends who are applying manure every year when they plant corn. So it can be, 2 manure applications in 3 years. We think that might be too much. That can have that can pose an environmental threat in, for example, phosphorus buildup in the soil.
Okay. Kathleen says, did your graph combine soil organic matter data from both reduced till and full tillage plots together? Did the reduced till contain greater organic matter than full tilled?
No. Yes, we combined the data from both full tillage and reduced tillage treatments. We did not see that reduced tillage or no-till could increase or could consistently increase soil organic matter. And actually in the conventional system, we saw a slightly declined soil organic matter or soil carbon in the reduced tillage treatment. However, as I mentioned, the message is not consistent. For example, when we collect soil from this year and then collect soil from next year and look at data, it's highly variable. It's highly variable in the topsoil, in the top 0 to 20, because of the spatial variation and the collection method. It's very complicated. So this year we have just collected the deep soil from the surface to 1 meter deep. When we're trying to do entire soil profile carbon counting based this rigorous soil sampling. So hopefully we can have more data, not just on the topsoil, but also in the whole soil profile.
Okay, Wade is asking, could soil organic matter fluctuation have something to do with the frequency of sampling? In other words, with more sampling, more fluctuations are noticed.
Well, I think that's a good point. Yeah, in general, I think we have big fields. We have big, so soil sampling wouldn't interfere with the data, quality itself, but soil is highly variable. Soil conditions are highly, heterogeneous. So when you take soil from here and from there, because we have such big plots, then the data can be different, even it's in the same system.
Okay. Esther says there is an increase in the soil organic matter between 2010 and 2015 in the organic legume system. Were you able to correlate it to weather data?
No, we haven't looked at that. That's a good point. We can take a look at that.
Okay. Troy says, after the start of the farm in the 80s, how long did it take for the organic crop yields to catch up, surpass the conventional yields?
From what I have read, starting year four, the crop yields from the organic system start to match or outperform that of the conventional system. In the first few years, yes, the yields were pretty bad compared to the conventional system. But starting from year 4 and year 5, the yields started to come back and could match that of the conventional systems.
Okay. To what do you attribute the organic crops to outcompete the conventional crops in the high weed pressure studies?
Sorry, I beg your pardon?
It says, to what do you attribute the organic crops to outcompete the conventional crops in the high weed pressure studies?
So we collect crop yields and weed pressure data every year. And we look at the relationships between crop yields and weed pressure in each of these systems. And we found that sometime in the organic system, even with high weed pressure, we still have decent amount of yields. But in a conventional system, when there's big weed pressure, the crop yields are pretty bad. So that shows the organic crops are more resistant against weed pressure. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
More resilient, yeah, for
Yes.
sure. Okay, perfect. And then Dr. Dellett at Iowa State, she says that we have obtained similar results at ISU LTAR research with the 4-year rotation out yielding the 3-year rotation. We have not had much luck with the organic no-till corn, however. Do you think the sandier Pennsylvania soils help with terminating cover crops with the roller crimping?
Maybe.
Okay.
I think it's a very interesting question, and I don't have a straight answer for that. But my experience, 3 years experience working at Rodale, tell me that for organic corn, the no-till system, no-till corn, usually perform pretty good. But the soybean, no-till soybean, organic no-till soybean is very challenging. And but from what I've heard from my colleagues in Wisconsin, in north central USA, and they have good organic no-till soybean, but they have challenges with organic no-till corn. So maybe that's related to the climate and the soil conditions of these different locations.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing these critical findings, Dr. Rui. Where can we find the published references with the data you presented?
So the historical data before 2008, or before the recent years, or they were mostly peer-reviewed, and you can find them in the Rodale Institute website. And the recent 12 years data, we're just in the process of getting them published. So the long-term crop yields and the grain nutrient quality, nutrient content data have been published recently in December. And the long-term economics data are being under peer review. And the long-term soil health data is about to be submitted to a peer-reviewed journal. So whenever they get accepted for publication in a journal, we will present that in our website.
Okay, so it's coming up. Troy is asking, would you speak more about the machines to terminate cover crops, please?
So yes, the machine we use, as I have shown you in the presentation, the roller crimper, it's a big cylinder. It's a 10-foot long cylinder that has chevron shaped blades on the cylinder. So when you roll the cylinder, then it can roll and crimp the cover crops. And the cover crops will be crimped every 7 inches, So the cover crops will die, but they will still stick on the ground. They can stay on the ground. They will decompose gradually. So the roller crimper, the idea was started in Brazil maybe in the 1980s, 1990s. There was some similar type of, it was just a big cylinder. And then in early 2000s, Rodale Institute, based on Northeast South Grant, we developed the first roller crimpers with the chevron-shaped blades on it. So that was an idea of our CEO, Jeff Moyer, to crimp the cover crop using the blades every 7 inches. We found that's pretty effective in terminating the cover crops. And recently, there are some other roller crimpers that's been developed. For example, there's a company called the Dawn Equipment, DAWN. The Dawn Equipment has developed a modified version of roller crimper that's using hydraulic system to terminate cover crops. So it has different sections of roller crimpers, rollers, cylinders with these chevron-shaped blades that can adapt the uneven field conditions better. And we are currently doing some research comparing different roller crimpers. Hopefully we can publish those results very soon. But if you go to our website, our YouTube channel, you can see some preliminary findings comparing these 2 or 3 different roller crimpers in terminating cover crops.
Wow, very cool. That will be exciting to check out for sure. We have a few more questions, Dr. Rui. I know we are past 1 o'clock here. We'll go ahead and just touch on these questions quick and then we'll wrap up if that's okay.
Okay.
So Lynn is asking, have you tried organic compliant burn down application in your no-till? I've also wondered if anyone uses naturally mined boron to terminate the cover crop. That would be a nice trial.
We have never used that.
Okay. Troy says, you refer to the organic manure farming system. Did you really mean the organic compost system? The 2 words are very different.
Well, I think the idea for the organic manure system was that it's based on a organic dairy grain operation. So we have the hay and corn silage being produced in this system. And hay and corn silage will be harvested to feed dairy cows. And the manures that come from the dairy cows will be composted and returned to the soil. So that's to close the nutrient loop, right? Of course, we can use compost. I think that's a very important to do because a lot of the organic materials, they come from our farmlands, they're going to the cities or residential, location, but they're not coming back to the farmlands. So that's actually a big gap in, biogeochemical cycling that should be closed. But in this system, the organic manure system in this trial was designed to mimic a dairy, organic dairy rotation, dairy system.
Dairy operation.
Yeah, operation, yes.
All right, perfect, wonderful. Okay, so final question. Do you do any research on the human component in your farming practices, such as how to create a farming system that actually needs people instead of more heavy metals? For example, machines. Any studies on the quality of life for those who till the land?
Oh, that's a
couple questions there, sorry.
That's a very profound question. I'm not sure if I can answer that because it's more complicated than just soil health or soil carbon. So you mentioned the quality of life, but what are the metrics? What are the metrics to indicate that? How can we, measure? What can we measure to indicate quality of life, right? So I think it's an important thing to consider, that the relationship between people and the land and the quality of life. But I don't think there's any easy, answer to that question.
Yeah.
We find a perfect way to integrate many different categories of life quality, or now we're working hard to try to understand the quality of soil and the environment and the food quality, but how to quantify the benefit to our society and the human health, it's a very difficult thing to do. I think that might be the next research frontier.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Dr. Rui, thank you so much for being here today and for sharing all of these findings. And thank you, of course, to Rodale Institute for being a pioneer in this field. We really appreciate your time today. And you guys, for everybody that participated, I will be sharing a link to the recording, to this webinar recording that will be on our YouTube channel. In addition, I'll send a survey that will literally take you 5 minutes. Please respond to that survey. We use your responses for grant reporting purposes. Again, Dr. Rui, thank you so much for being here today and for sharing all of your knowledge with us. We really appreciate all you do. There's quite a few thank yous here coming into the chat box. So much appreciated, and hope you have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you soon.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.